Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Amber Valley series. There are 35 parishes in this beautiful slice of eastern Derbyshire. Here's one for your viewing pleasure. Welcome back once again to Amber Valley in Derbyshire, everybody. Now today I've got an interesting little one for you. This is one that you've seen part of already in the Horsley episode because part of it falls within Horsley's boundaries. This is the main part. Welcome to Kilburn. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Amber Valley this week brings us back to the Belper area and to Kilburn, a large village located just off the A38. This one should not be confused with Kilburn in London. In fact, only until around 100 years ago, it was known as something different, Kilbourne. Kilburn has grown massively in the last century, with lots of brand new housing estates springing up from the 1950s onwards. Its oldest part is still clearly distinguishable, with terraced rows and most of the village amenities lining the main road, Chapel Street. The name Kilburn means kiln by the stream, and the village at one time had two brickyards from which came the bricks that built most of those 19th century terraces. There was also a Glassworks in the village too, but as ever in this part of the world, coal mining was what caused Kilburn to grow so much. Kilburn Colliery provided employment for many who lived here. It was one of the few pits in Derbyshire that was opened and closed twice. After its original closure, it was reopened when miners from nearby Denby broke through into its workings. Kilburn would eventually close for good in 1967, and Denby would follow suit 3 years later. These days, all the heavy industry has gone, and Kilburn has become a commuter village for workers who travel to the big nearby cities, like Derby and Nottingham. So let's have a walk around it and see how people live these days. We begin our journey around Kilburn in a separate hamlet called Rawson Green, located to Kilburn's northwest. This was, at one time, the location of a brickworks. That piece of history is remembered thanks to the name of Brickyard Lane. Brickmaking was one of the main industries in 19th century Kilburn, along with a glassworks, and also Kilburn Colliery, which was located to the northeast of the village. A railway line once ran through this area which served Kilburn Colliery. Here in Rawson Green was Kilburn Railway Station, which opened in 1856. It was the next station to the north from Coxbench and was on the Ripley branch of the Midland Railway line. Passenger services finished in 1930, though the line remained open for coal traffic until the late 20th century. Nothing is now left of the station or its tracks, which were demolished in 1965. You can still tell, though, where the level crossing used to be. The station hotel still stands too, and it's now used as a day nursery. Our main walk begins on Dale Park Avenue, one of Kilburn's many suburban streets that have been built in recent decades. We'll be seeing many more soon, but our first job is to take this footpath to Church Street, which runs through a park. By the end of this episode, you'll be sick of seeing parks and playgrounds. Kilburn has quite a lot of them. The end of the path brings you out at this house on Church Street, where we make a brief right turn for the village hall. As well as social events, a monthly religious service is held here. Kilburn has no church, its nearest one is in Horsley. Here's a parish notice board on its wall. Mark off Kilburn on those Amber Valley lists, folks. That's 11 down, 24 to go. The hall also has an honours board. There's a few names on it as things stand, but plenty of room for more. Directly opposite is Kilburn Hall, which dates partly from 1712 and was used as offices in the latter part of the 20th century. Now to head down Church Street towards Woodhouse Road. This will take us past two pubs, but only one is open. That would be the Hunter or Hunters Arms. This was built in 1879 and is named after the former owners of Kilburn Hall. Directly opposite is the second pub. No pints here though, as the old White Hart has now been converted into a house. And even though you can't get a pint in one of those pubs anymore, you can still catch a bus to the other one. The number 138 stops right here next to the Hunter's Arms. Let's carry on around the corner and see what's around there. Kilburn is kept looking nice by the parish council. Here on Woodhouse Road there's one of many planters around the village. Kilburn is built on a hillside, which is why Woodhouse Road is a shallow hill. Here's the view up that hill. And here's the view back down it again. This eventually leads to Horsley Woodhouse, the next village to the east. We're not going that far though. This little shortcut takes us back into the heart of Kilburn's suburban-like housing estate. There was a massive amount of new housing development here in the latter half of the 20th century, most of it council housing. It's a commuter village primarily now, and here's one way to get around. This estate is served by buses known as the Nines. A lot of people who live here travel to Derby or to Nottingham for work. It's within easy reach of both major cities. That's why more than 3,500 people live here today. This part of Kilburn feels almost like a small town rather than a village. The estate continues via Elmtree Avenue and loops its way up to Chapel Street. That's where we're headed, but via a different route. Now, of course, this is a big housing estate. You could carry on all the way around Elmtree Avenue. You wouldn't see anything really any different. So we're going to go up Windmill Avenue instead and turn up a street called the Walk, I think it's called, on the right. Take us towards a park. Effectively, this next section is more housing bookended by two parks. This one sits between the Walk and the Chase. And as if by magic, here is the Chase, one of Kilburn's many little cul-de-sacs. Via a snicket, we're off back to Windmill Avenue. By the way, if you were wondering, Kilburn did indeed have a windmill. Built in 1821, it was last seen on OS maps in 1879. It's Mayfield Avenue next, which as developments go is a little older than the ones we've just walked through. This footpath off it runs past another park. This one leads to the High Street as we start to enter Kilburn's oldest area. Seeing these Victorian terraces, which would have once been lived in by miners, instantly it feels like you've stepped back in time. Now, of course, normally the High Street is where you would find all the shops and other amenities. Well, here in Kilburn it's a bit different. They're all on Chapel Street. This is Chapel Street, and you're looking at the main shop over there, Metro Foods, which also doubles as the post office. We're going to walk down this towards a church next. Metro Foods is brand new. Erected within the last decade, it stands on what was an old bungalow, demolished to build this. Food-wise, Kilburn can offer a Chinese takeaway. Just a few doors up from the shop, you'll come to J Garden. Now, this wouldn't be a mining area without a miners' welfare club, now would it? This lane off Chapel Street is where you'll find it. This is also the home of Kilburn's football club. They play right here at the Gigaclear Stadium, sometimes known as the Welly. The current club were founded in 2017, but football history in Kilburn goes back much further than that. You'll never guess what's next door to the ground. Yes, it's yet another park. Children are very well looked after in this place. Back to the road, and we continue down Chapel Street, taking in some more of these old terraces towards the chapel itself. Here we have Kilburn's former Wesleyan Methodist chapel, built in 1891 to replace an older one which dated from 1830. After the chapel, the street name changes to Highfield Road as we start our descent down the hill towards the start again. On the way, there's a second chapel. Built in 1908, this is Kilburn Baptist Chapel, which replaced an older one dating from 1852. So this whole time while I've been walking down Chapel Street, I've been heading downhill. I'm almost at the end of that hill, at the bottom of the hill. And when we reach the bottom, we'll be talking about a school. Of course, a place of this size certainly needs one of those, and Kilburn doesn't disappoint. The school is over there, although you can't see it just yet. Kilburn's schools, plural, are located up a dead-end road called the Flat. One's for juniors and one's for infants. This is the infant school. Originally this was a girls' school and was erected in 1862. It could hold 221 children. The junior school behind it is much newer. This stands close to another former pub, a white house once named the Cricketers. The infant school has a tall clock in its grounds. No idea of the history behind this, but it's attractive all the same. I've also no information about this white building. It's very chapel-like in its appearance, so perhaps it's maybe one of the old ones. A couple more steps and you're at a phone box. No working phone or book exchanges here. This one's got a defibrillator. On the opposite side of the road there's a business named Vanity Hair and Beauty, and nearby is the War Memorial. This was originally erected for the 2 local men who were lost in the Boer War. Tablets for other conflicts have been added since. And beyond that, the walls of Kilburn Hall's grounds come into view, marking our return to the start. Well, almost. And you'll never guess what I've saved until last. Yep, it's another park. It's actually one we've seen before, because this was the one that we saw right at the beginning of the video, Church Street Recreation Ground. It's just the other side of it. And this path will take us back to the car, through the park, and that's been the parish of Kilburn, complete. A very densely populated part of Amber Valley, but there are denser, and we still need to see them yet. So hang on to your hats, folks. You've not seen the best of Amber Valley just yet. Lastly, we drive out of Kilburn on part of a former Roman road which once linked Chester to Derby, Ricknield Road. At the top of this, there's a crossroads where we'll turn left for next week's episode. That's been Kilburn, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed our trip around one of Amber Valley's most suburban villages. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.